Good afternoon and good morning. My name is Trent Reed, and as Chair of Technology Professionals Canada, known as TPC, it is my pleasure to host this National Capstone Competition webinar. If we can please allow a couple of minutes for everyone to join in, and I'll be right back. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for Technology Professional Canada's first annual virtual capstone project competition. Many of you attending this webinar will likely be members of one of our provincial member organizations, from ASTT-BC in the far west to AETTNL in Newfoundland and Labrador in the east. And if you're not, I encourage you to reach out and learn more about the services that they offer. To quickly introduce TPC, it's a national alliance of 9 technology professional organizations representing over 90% of the certified technicians and technologists in Canada. And one of our key directives is to raise awareness of the role of engineering and applied science professionals. There are many ways to accomplish this goal, and in 2023, the members of TPC agreed to establish a National Engineering and Applied Science Technology, or NEAT, Week. This highlights the specialized work we do, and we look forward to NEAT Week becoming a recognized date on annual calendars. Before we go any further, I ask that you join me in acknowledging the First Nations, the Métis, and the Inuit peoples across Canada. With a long history predating European arrival, they have an enduring relationship with this continent. They offered assistance to the first European travelers and shared their knowledge for survival in what was at times a harsh climate. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, give our respects to the first inhabitants. To learn more about Indigenous nations where you live and work, we encourage you to visit native-land.ca for more information. Neat Week is intended to consist of a number of different activities involving our members of our provincial organizations, our post-secondary partners, our stakeholder organizations, and the public at large. We knew that we wanted the key anchor national event of Neat Week to feature the innovation of our young professionals and are thrilled to introduce this national capstone project competition. Most of the 3-year advanced diploma programs in the schools of technology across the country have culminating capstone projects, an opportunity for students, either individuals or in teams, to pull together all their learning and experience over the course of their 3 years of study into one overarching project. Sometimes these projects have corporate sponsors and are designed to solve real-world, everyday problems. Others are simply the brainchild of an extremely creative and talented students. Overall, it's a great way to showcase what engineering technology is all about and the opportunities in varied disciplines that can lead to incredibly diverse and rewarding careers. Before we actually start the competition showcasing the 2 finalists from provincial capstone competitions, we are very pleased to share a message from the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. When we talk about raising the profile of our profession, one of our key target audiences are the provincial and federal governments. They need to really understand the value of the collective expertise and contribution of the professional members. And the Prime Minister's acknowledgement highlights the technical excellence and value our profession offers to this country. It doesn't get much better than making our way all the way to the top. Now that we have the formalities looked after, let's talk about how today's competition will work. Community colleges and polytechnics were invited to identify a project for submission to provincial competitions. Each submission needed to include a brief description of the project, the full supporting technical report, the instructor's grading of the project, and most importantly, a video presentation of the project by the students. Finalists were selected by evaluation committees through a scoring matrix that evaluated project originality, technical ability and proficiency, methodology, practicality, creativity and innovation, results and conclusions, community leadership, and importance to society. The 2 winning provincial submissions you are about to view are presented today for selection as the 2024 national winner and, of course, the runner-up. Because many students have now graduated and, on the advice of our college partners, you will see that for this webinar, we are using the project video presentations. These provide a very clear introduction and understanding of the tremendous amount of work and learning captured in each of these detailed submissions. And now it's all up to you. Please watch the 2 video presentations carefully and be ready to cast your vote for the project you choose as a 2024 winner of the National Capstone Competition. These are being presented in alphabetical order according to the title. There is no implication to the order of the presentation. So let's introduce our first project. This project comes from Adrian Andel of NATE. His capstone project, the Calibration Gas Router, an app-controlled gas detector calibration tool, looks into the design of a tool that will aid in the calibrating fixed gas detectors. Fixed gas detectors, unlike personal gas detectors, have always been calibrated manually using a calibration kit. The calibration process is simple and repetitive, which makes it a good candidate for development of a tool. The tool is designed to make the calibration time shorter and the calibration process easier. The study has 2 phases, design and then evaluation. calibration accuracy is unaffected by the tool. This in turn doesn't only make the job of instrumentation personnel faster, it also minimizes the time these personnel are exposed to work hazards. This translates to faster job turnarounds and improves safety in the workplace. So let's now play the video.
I came up with the idea when I did a co-op job and we worked with a lot of gas detectors. We went for a field work where we had to actually install and calibrate 40 gas detectors. And I was like in my 7th gas detector calibration that day that I realized there's a better way of doing this. So the purpose of the tool really is to make the calibration of gas detectors easier and faster. The scope of the project was to design and evaluate a tool that will aid in the calibration of fixed gas detectors. So gas detectors are instruments that measure the air quality around it and gives off a visual or an audible alarm whenever it exceeds a preset limit. Now, for these gas detectors to function properly, we need to calibrate. Calibrating gas detectors has 3 steps: zero calibration, span calibration, and purging. So that means that you'll be connecting the calibration gas to the gas detector and operating the regulator at least 3 times for the entire calibration procedure. With the tool that I made, you can just connect these calibration gases to the tool and control the flow of gases using a cell phone app. The evaluation I did for the calibration time is fairly straightforward. I did a few runs of, I call it the manual calibration, which is the existing process. I timed it, and then I did another few runs of the calibration process using my tool. And then with the times that I got from those runs, I compared it, and that's how I got the numbers. The basic functionality I was looking to achieve for the tool was that I can connect the calibration gases to it, and then the electronics will get to control the flow of these calibration gases out to a common output port. For the components, I used a microcontroller as the brain and used a Bluetooth module to connect the electronics to the cell phone app. I wired the outputs of the microcontroller to control the solenoid valves, which open and closes and controls the flow of the calibration gases. For operation, you just turn on the tool and then go to the cell phone app, and there's a button there to tap to connect to the tool. Once you're connected, there's a single button that you use to change modes of the tool. It's either you're doing zero calibration, span calibration, or purging. You can also switch to local control through the app. Once you're in local mode, you can use the button on the tool to control the solenoids in the tool. Comparing the calibration times for the manual calibration and the calibration process using the tool, I found that there is a 30% reduction in the calibration time. Now, for accuracy, I didn't encounter any failure during my trial run, so the tool can be considered as accurate as the manual process. With the 30% reduction that we got for the calibration time and the results we got for comparing the ease of use and the accuracy, I therefore conclude that the tool is effective in aiding technicians and maintenance personnel for calibrating gas detectors. The tool I made is mainly a proof of concept, and there's a lot of improvements that can be done to it. What I recommend is to look into the safety rating of the tool and also make a study for the cross-contamination of the calibration gases.
Oh, very good. On to our second project. This comes from Vikram Pandey and Hugh Roy Staples from Sheridan College. Their capstone project, titled Hydrothermal Carbonization, HTC, of Plastic Waste, investigated the hydrothermal carbonization, also known as HTC, process for converting different types of plastic waste into valuable resources, helping to address the growing environmental challenges caused by plastic waste. Plastic waste is indeed a problem. Almost everything that we use has plastic, from our phones to our computers and even to our clothes. Imagine a world without plastic. It's really hard as it's such a commoditized product. So without further ado, let's play the video.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Roy and today I'll be joined by Vikram, and today we're happy to talk to you about our technical report on the hydrothermal carbonization of plastics, also known as HTC. Now, plastic waste poses a significant environmental threat, and this project aims to explore hydrothermal carbonization as a potential method of mitigating plastic pollution by considering alternative uses. Okay, so for today's presentation, we're going to take a look at a brief introduction to our topic, how we actually set up our experiment, how we analyzed our data, and some of the applications of our product, which is hydrochar, some of the recommendations for future research, and then a brief conclusion along with the key references that we used for this presentation. Now, when we think of the HTC process, we're actually thinking of plastics being placed in a batch reactor with water for an extended period of time. Now, this normally occurs at high temperatures and high pressures, at which chemical reactions occur to the plastics present to break them down into a carbon-rich compound known as hydrochar that has a similar composition to charcoal, which we're familiar with. Now, our aim in this research project is to determine the optimal temperature in a range of 250 to 280 degrees Celsius for the HTC process to occur, and also to observe how changes in the temperature affect different parameters of the hydrochar product we're producing. Now, for this experiment, we decided to focus on plastics that are commonly found around us in our environment. This included PVC, PP, PC, LDPE, and PET. These samples are then processed into smaller pieces, placed into a sample holder, and then placed into a batch reactor with water for a total hold time of around 2 hours at high temperature and high pressure in order to create our hydrochar product. Now, after obtaining our hydrochar product, the success of our HTC process was evaluated on the parameters of carbonization, porosity, and heat flow, which was evaluated using instrumental techniques such as FTIR, microscopy, and the differential scanning calorimetry, results of which we'll discuss in more detail in the upcoming minutes. Now, before we take a look at our other results, something that's also very important is our yield analysis. Yield gives us an idea of the amount of hydrochar that's being produced for each unit of plastic that are actually put into the reactor. And we can also take a look at how temperature affects our yield, as can be seen in this graph here. We can actually see that for PVC, the yield is not as affected with an increase in temperature. For polypropylene, PP, we see that an increase in temperature results in a decrease in yield. For PC, we see that the yield is very low to begin with. And for LDPE, an increase in temperature actually results in an exponential increase in yield. As well as for PET, we see that an increase in temperature results in about a 50% increase in the yield we receive. Now, the usage of FTIR was essential to determine how temperature affected the breakdown of our plastic samples. And this was given as a function of absorbance that was determined from the FTIR spectra that was completed for each plastic sample. Now, a decrease in absorbance would actually indicate a greater decomposition of those samples. And this trend was actually observed for majority of the plastic samples, as we do see a decrease in absorbance as we increase in temperature. However, we do see a bit of variability with the LDP results. Now, at this point in time, we've taken a look at a brief introduction to our topic, how we set up our experiment, along with some key pieces of data analysis. At this point in time, I'll hand over to my partner Vikram, who will continue with our data analysis, some of our applications, recommendations, our final conclusion, along with some of the key references that we used for this project. Over to you, Vikram.
Thank you so much, Uroy, for explaining some of the key points of this project. Now I'll take further from here and I'll explain the data analysis at the DSC, which is digital scanning calorimetry, and we use it to depict the thermal behavior of the sample. As you can see in the slide, there are two graphs which actually shows the degradation behavior, the thermal behavior of the PVC sample at 250 and 280 degrees Celsius. As we can see from the graph, the sample at 280 has a lower residual weight, which is around 10% compared to the one at the 250, which has somewhere around 40%, so indicating the more complete degradation. So exothermic peaks during the deterioration and the moisture loss at the lower temperature were seen in both the sample, and PVC didn't experience any mass increase during oxidation like coal does, which indicates a similar combustion process and decrease the chance of spontaneous ignition. So unlike coal, PVC didn't show any oxy-complex formation, which leads to the faster combustion of our material comparing to the theoretical data of the coal combustion, and which has a different thermal characteristic because of this only. And both materials showed similar initial moisture and the combustion behavior. So now I would like to talk about the data analysis on the digital microscopy. As you can see, there is a chart in the slide which actually tells about the porosity, the pore size of the PVC sample, which we did the carbonization at 250 and 280. At 250, as you can see, the average pore size is just over 20, and at 280, it's over 30. So we did this advanced imaging, so using the software which integrate the data from the digital microscope to determine the average pore size. And by comparing all of these, we found a very quantifiable data for the PVC, and we observed these at 1000 magnification times 1000 magnification, and that's how we measured the pore size. The size which we talked about for the PVC sample in the last slide at 250 and 280, as you can see, we measured the size by the digital imaging, as I mentioned already as well. But why there is a pores? The reason for the pores is mainly from the polymerization process and the structure. During suspension polymerization, water act as a medium and get drawn into the forming the polymer droplets. So when the water drop is removed, it leaves behind the interconnected pores within the PVC sample. So, the with the increase in the temperature, the pore size increases, as you can see, and it's very evident from the picture as well. And why is the pore size very important? Since the pore size is very crucial because they directly affect the material surface area and the possible uses. Since the larger pores can enhance the material ability to absorb substances, making it more effective in applications such as filtration or as a support material in chemical reaction. So pore diameter can increase the efficiency of the STC process, but so we can conclude that by allowing it for the more contact between the material and the substance it react with. So that's how we can increase the porosity as well.
So there are some applications of the HTC since it's a very innovative process that transform the plastic waste into the hydrochar. It's act as a energy source which can be burned as a fuel alternative to the coal. It helps in the agriculture by enhancing the soil health. It helps in environmental cleanup by absorbing the harmful chemicals from the soil and the water, and some of other like waste management and the climate action. So overall, it's a very sustainable method of improving our waste management practice. So, in order to improve this experiment for future and build upon on this project, we have several key recommendation. So, first is increasing the drying time, so at least 3 to 5 hours. The second one is the running the sample trial at the higher temperature, because we saw that PET and PP showed better degradation, better decomposition at the higher temperature. So we recommend any experiment above 285 degrees Celsius would be better for to know the impact of the carbonization. The third one is improving the sample separation. So I mean, we can use the stronger steel containers, or running one sample at a time, so that the better separation can be possible there. And the lastly is increasing the feed density by palletizing the sample, the outcome. So that's how we can increase the feed density, and which can improve the yield. So with this, I would like to conclude our presentation for the project hydrothermal carbonization process. And in the result, we saw that PVC had a stable yield both at 250 and 280 degrees Celsius, likely due to its very strong structure even after the hydrogenation and dechlorination. And PP, LDPE, and PET, we saw the increase in yield at the higher temperature. And from the FTI analysis, we showed the breakdown of the functional groups, while PVC had a minimal changes, and PP and other plastic, they show significant degradation. Further, we did the DSC analysis to highlight the thermal properties and found that it has very similar properties as of the coal. And with the microscopic examination, we found the porosity as it increased with the increase in temperature, and it was visible in the PVC, but it was not very significant in others. So overall, STC effectively converted the plastic into the hydrochar. And these are our some of the references which we use for our experiment and this presentation. Also with this, I would like to say thank you so much for being until the end of this presentation, and I hope you liked our presentation. Have a good day ahead.
Well, thank you to both groups for their excellent presentations. And now for the moment of truth. In just a minute, we're going to launch our voting poll. In case you need some help in deciding, I'm going to provide a quick reminder of the criteria that were used for the selection of the provincial winners, and they're carried forward to today. These are project originality, technical ability and proficiency, methodology, practicality, creativity and innovation, results and conclusion, community leadership and importance to society. So are you ready? Let's launch the poll. Will it be Northern Alberta Institute of Technology's calibration gas router, or Sheridan College's hydrothermal carbonization HTC of plastic weight? We will give everyone a couple of minutes to place your vote. Just a few more minutes for voting, please. Just a couple more minutes. Just noticing on the chat that people are looking for copies of the recording, and the recording will be available at the conclusion of this webinar. Shouldn't be much longer for our results. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so we'll give it another 1 minute for voting, and then we'll close the poll. Thirty more seconds. If you haven't voted yet, please do so. Okay, and the poll is now closed. Thanks everybody for taking the time and placing your votes. Looking for a drum roll, please. The winner of the first annual Capstone National Project Competition is Sheridan College's Hydrothermal Carbonization HTC of Plastic Waste. Congratulations to Sheridan College and Vikram Pandey and Hugh Ray Staples for their excellent presentation. The winning team receives a prize of $1,000 and a banner and trophy will be on display at the college for bragging rights. The project will also be featured on TPC and provincial member organizations' social media and in newsletters. A great congratulations also must go out to our national runner-up from Nate. That's Adrian Andel. Adrian will receive a second place cash prize of $700. Both excellent presentations, and thank you again. It's been said before, and I will say it again. The biggest winner is the future of our profession, as demonstrated by the caliber of these graduate projects, along with those submitted for the provincial competitions. Thank you so much for participating today and for selecting the winner of the 2024 National Capstone Competition. Before we leave, please note that also being offered during Neat Week on Thursday, November 28th at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Time is a webinar on AI and the specific implications for engineering technology. This webinar will be free to all members of the TPC provincial organizations and also to the students and faculty in engineering and applied science technology programs in colleges and polytechnics across the country. We hope to see you there. Dates for Neat Week 2025 will be available soon. I'm wishing you all much success in the future, and please be sure to check out the provincial organization for Capstone Project Competition and other Neat Week details. Thank you all and have a great rest of your day.